Peace and blessings, love and light. This is Kim Martin Raymond, and welcome to another edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. Again, I'm your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I am a minister, spiritual life coach, author, and founder of Redefining You LLC, where I help my clients to align themselves mind, body, and spirit. And today's show is entitled Innovation in Communication. And I'm so excited that my guest is here with me today. And as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to ask her to introduce herself as she wants to be received by the world.
Well, thank you, Kim, first of all, for even asking. So I appreciate it. But my name is Nicole Gray. I am a manager at Zoom. For customer success. I manage an Upmarket team. I'm also the global lead for our Black ERG called Zoom Soul, and currently interim president for our Happy Crew. So it's a lot of titles, but I love them all, and I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole. I so appreciate you taking time out to help us to talk about innovation and communication. So, we'll start right where we're starting in the now. We're in this pandemic. This pandemic hit last year, and a lot of us were tasked with trying to figure out innovative ways to communicate. We have existing communication. We've always been able to text and we had, conference calls. And, for those of us in the business realm, I am a training manager. So, we've done webinars and things like this, but then, it became a sheltering in place. It became more than just doing these conference calls and these webinars and things temporarily, but going in and doing a lot of face-to-face, trainings and conferences and meetings with, our colleagues. And now all of that stopped. And we were like, now what?
Yeah.
And so, being a manager at Zoom, I know a lot of people began to look at that platform as well. And then things started to take off from there. So let's talk about, initially, Zoom, when you first think about it, a lot of people used it just for, like I said, those little conference calls,
Right.
having some of the interactive meetings. So what happened once that pandemic hit?
Yeah, well, it was such an interesting time because I always tell people, I think within the corporate world, we were already, famous, but then the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden it was like Brad Pitt, Denzel Washington famous
Right.
overnight. I think a lot of people think we are a new company. We're not. We're getting ready to celebrate our 10th anniversary. But I think, again, it's one of those where we were created for the corporate space. And then overnight, our grandmothers needed it for virtual church. Our kids needed it more for school. The yoga teacher down the street was doing Zoom. Gyms were closing. People were working out over Zoom.
Right.
You were hearing, celebrities say it. We became, a noun and a verb and all that good stuff. So it just it was one of those like wow moments even for us because, our offices shut down just like the rest of the world. So I'm in Atlanta. My Atlanta office closed, just like all the other offices, either here or in Asia and in Europe. And, for us, I feel like people were so used to looking at the platform and hearing the word, they didn't realize the people that were behind it. And we were feeling it too. I was home with my son who was in pre-K when the pandemic first hit, and, my husband and, all of us have these stories, but then we were heads down trying to connect the world. And that in itself was hard. So, it was, you go from kind of what you think a normal business day to now I'm working 18, maybe like 20 hours a day, because I'm trying to help folks who had used us one way, but then, like you said, maybe they use us just for, Zoom rooms or, meetings and things like that. But now the whole company had to use us. And it was just a wild time. I think March, April, May, I don't even remember breathing March,
Right.
April, May of 2020, because
Right.
it was just wild. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I can imagine. And so, just like you said, you're now having to use the tools that you've created and figure out, like you said, how to connect the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's so profound in and of itself, because we're limited when we are not using online communication to just that area where we are, or just those people that we interact with. And
Right.
now we have an opportunity to even broaden that space.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, just how difficult it was, even technology wise. I'm sure bandwidth, you think
I
about
mean,
things like that. Yeah.
the one thing we've always joked about our platform is that anybody can use it from 8 to 80. Like the biggest compliment we've ever gotten from folks is it just works. So that in itself is just a blessing because, I had relatives who you would say, I'm not really technology savvy, who are just killing the game with their Zoom meetings because it's that easy.
Right.
But it just took it to a whole new level. I would be at my desk working and I look across and see my son who's trying to do pre-K on Zoom. And then I can hear my husband in another room trying to hold meetings. He's in the construction industry
Right.
and they're on Zoom. So it just seemed like just within, a minute, the whole world was doing something. My church went virtual,
Right.
all the education, God bless all those parents and teachers and everybody
Yes.
who were one day in the classroom and the next day we're looking at the screen. Because I can tell you in my son's world, they were over Zoom real quick.
Right.
You 4, 5, and 6-year-olds,
Right.
I need to see you, touch you, we got to play. Right. So they were, that they were having a hard time, and then it was a balancing act, right? Because also during that time, I lost a few relatives during COVID. So, you're trying to have some sort of memorials on Zoom, and you couldn't have funerals. So it was a blessing that we could connect, but you still miss that I can touch you and I could be with you and during certain moments. I had friends who were pregnant during that time. Their husbands would be in the parking lot zooming in for those sonogram appointments and things like that. I've gone to 3 weddings via Zoom. So I think what's so amazing about the technology is we made it work, no matter how hard it was.
Right.
And us within the company, I look at this like just the world and how everybody made it work because we all had to hunker down and get through this thing. To me, that was just like a wow moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And to know that you're a part of the process. I mean, I'm sure that in and of itself was, like I said, just a blessing to be able to.
Yeah, I can appreciate it now, but when I was in the thick of it, I didn't really have the time to process it. I was so concerned, wanted to make sure that like everybody was okay and everybody was good. Clients that I'd had who were doing, I don't know, a few hundred Zoom meetings now turned into thousands, making sure they were okay, making sure the people who maybe didn't use it day to day, like their executive assistants and things like that, who, now they've had to use it. So for us, it was truly want to make sure everybody was good. And kudos to, the companies who were kind of like, what's going on? We're used to using it this way, but now we got to take it to a whole new level. And so, that first 3 months, it was heads down and it was a lot of grinding. But when we got to put our head up, it was kind of like, wow, this is pretty cool that we could do this. And, we always joke as far as like, well, who's going to play us in the movie version? The Zoom movie and things like that, or when they do the documentary,
That's
because
right.
Again, I don't think people understand there's people behind that word. As as powerful as it is, and people use it all the time, there's people around it, there's families around it. So we're doing our thing, but it's not just this, it didn't just happen overnight.
That's right.
This was a long time coming, but we were already known, and then we just took it to the next level. And I know for me personally, I feel very responsible. I love this company. When I look at my background and where I've been, Zoom has been a blessing. And I tell anybody that. I've worked for old school corporate America, those hard companies and things like that. So to get to a place where, again, when you talk about innovation, we're constantly creating, but also to get to a place as a Black woman in corporate America where my voice can be heard and I can truly make a change. I'm good. Awesome. I love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
You see, and that's what we're talking about. The one thing that I love is that there was a learning curve that took place, because a lot of us were all thumbs. I thought I was technology savvy. I was like, oh, I got this. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm not sure how to do it. Yeah. All of a sudden, I immediately felt old. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, usually I'm pretty savvy. But the one thing that I love about the company is that the level of support the trainings I mean, you can go into that little help bar and they walk you step by step through how to do things. And that was such, yeah, I just love the support. So when you talk about the people behind it, you have to anticipate, the issues that people are going to have.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that was, that was a hard part too, just making sure, like you said, being able to have your head down and support these people, because so many people were like, what? How do you do this? How do you make this work?
And I think that was kind of the personal responsibility, because one of our values is caring for others.
Mhm.
So that's why we, when the yoga teacher reaches out, we're going to treat her the same as the CEO of one of our larger companies who needs help.
Yeah.
When the church service can't figure something out, we're going to treat them the same as that company who's trying to hold a conference call or a town hall.
That's right.
When the hospitals were using us to connect loved ones to the patients and things like that, we were going to be very caring and sensitive and making sure that they were in a good space. But what was cool about that is we'd always done that, but then we just had our clients just expanded. The net grew. This wasn't anything new to us, but it was different when the church would call and just be like, hey, we're trying to have service Sunday morning, can you help us? Sure, of course we can. And then I think we took things to another level. We were lucky enough to do things like the NFL draft and the Grammy. I mean, just those things that we took for granted that we'd always watched on TV. Now we're on Zoom, and somebody had to run that, and that was different teams within our company that were doing it, and we took great pride of. So there could be some sense of normalcy, so it wouldn't kind of feel like you were in a Zoom meeting or whatever like that. So we just, looking back at it now, and we're still so excited and feel very blessed we've done that. But we feel like, it's like, that was pretty cool. It's 2020 was a hard year, don't get me wrong. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, for those of us who survived it, we look back and we're like, man, we did that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. And then, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the, the things that we have seen on Zoom.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, first of all, let me just say, if you have heard you're on mute about 10 million times like myself, whether you are officially a Zoomie, because that is the battle cry for, can you unmute? Nicole, you're on mute. Oh, okay. We do it. Clients do, everybody does it. So the word mute, goodness. If I never hear that word again. Okay. Absolutely. We're all guilty of being on mute. And I think the funniest thing is I don't understand why everybody takes us into the bathroom, but we can see you. We can see you. I mean, when comedian Tiffany Haddish did it, to just people being in meetings. What's funny to me, Kim, is people would have us on their phone, and I don't know if they thought because the screen was small that we can't see you, but it's like we can see everything that you're doing, and that's the part that was funny. Or the people who thought their camera was off and it wasn't. I mean, it's been some funny stuff that we have seen that people, again, just thinking like, people just got so comfortable, but they got a little too comfortable.
Right. I think that's exactly what happened. And I love it. And that's why I said it's a wonderful part to talk about, because like I said, we're on Zoom now. It's absolutely been a way for us to connect, but it's also been a source, like I said, of laughter and of joy. It's brought so many people together on so many different levels.
Honestly, for me, I think one of the things that I've loved, because my son was getting ready to do that too. He was trying to bomb this interview. That's why I was kind of like, okay, how many kids and pets and spouses that I've seen in the background have walked into a room, not realizing you're on, and then they all have that same look like, oh. Right. Out of space. I think that is what has humanized like everybody. Yes. Everybody has realized, and that's like the one time in the world where we're all in the same thing. In the beginning, you'd apologize for, oh, I'm sorry, my son interrupted, or the dog. Right. After a while, we're all like, look, we used to that. We used to your pet in the back doing crazy stuff. We used to your spouse walking in like, hey, you hungry? And you're like, I'm in a Zoom meeting.
Right.
I'm sorry. After a while, it was kind of like, whatever. It is what it is.
You're absolutely right. It humanized us, and it made people relax. You know, a lot of us were stiff and staunch about things, and this is business, and this is a business meeting. And then we realized, you know what? It doesn't take away from our talents and our gifts and our ability to get things
Yeah.
done. But that, yeah, there are really things that go on in the
I
background.
think I mean, the pandemic, I could talk about this forever. I think it, a lot of everybody could to like sit still, reflect, look at things, but especially from a corporate world. Like when I am talking to an executive and his wife comes in to ask him what he wants to eat, and he's trying to, be all a certain way, and he's gonna be like, I'm in a Zoom meeting, then he could relax. You know what I mean? It took like the business world, we could take a deep breath and just be like, you know what, we can calm down, because I'm wearing pajamas anyway from the waist down, you may not see. I got a puppy on one end, a toddler over here. Like, thank you so much for letting me know. I can just relax and just,
that's it.
I can just, just take a breath.
That's it. And you, and I think, and that's the important thing, because I think when you think of technology and everything is so robotic and everything is so, but to be able to see that human aspect in something that is virtual, it's hard, because you can't touch, and because you can't hug, and because you can't love, that's an issue, but then you realize that no, this is, it is that hug, it is that laughter, it is something that brings us together. And I think that that's so, such a wonderful, part of what Zoom does, and what, that connection does. And like I said, I love that it humanizes us. I had we had a Christmas party for my organization, and I did a spoof. I did a Zoom spoof. We did a Zoom, and we recorded it, and we had everyone at their home, and we did everything that you're not supposed to do on Zoom. We had people with towels on their head. We had people with like the pajama bottoms. We had people who were yelling at their kids, and then you're like, can you mute, please? You had the people who couldn't figure out how to turn the camera on. Is my camera on? Can you see me? And you just see the black screen.
It sounds like the skit that Saturday Night Live did of being in a Zoom meeting, where the person's head is like all in the camera.
We had one person's nose,
right, and then somebody else is in the bathroom talking. They're like, we can see you, and I just think it just showed that we're all in this together, and we're gonna make mistakes, but it's okay. We got you. I think that was the best part, because honestly, for me, seeing the kids on Zoom is hilarious.
Yes,
because you talk about some real moments. When I look at some of the play dates that my son has even done on Zoom, it has cracked me up. I'm like, wow, this technology is huge. When we could actually have 10 kids play together, they playing hide and go seek on Zoom. How they can do that, I don't even know. But they pulled it off, and it was like, okay, whatever makes you happy. So.
I love it. And then when we talk about the features, we talk about the thing, oh my goodness, being able to have breakout rooms, and as a trainer, this is just, it's wonderful.
Well, and I think that the virtual backgrounds, I think, was the key. I think I've seen virtual backgrounds like I've never seen. I've seen people make music videos.
Yes.
With the technology, that was just so cool. But I will say the virtual backgrounds has been the best part, because when we couldn't go anywhere, we could at least pretend we were at the beach, or I'm sitting in a museum, or or whatever we could do. So I think that piece is really cool too.
Let me tell you. I mean, the backgrounds, have been a lifesaver, I'm sure, for all of us, because it also shows people like, if you really knew what it looked like behind here, you'd be like, what?
And it's so funny too, because I've had a lot of people who have told me that too. Thank God for the virtual background, especially people may have lived in a small space at the time, or they were hiding their family. It was you never knew where people were, and I think that allowed them to kind of even escape for like a minute.
Yes.
So even that was nice.
It is. There are just so many facets to Zoom that have just been such a huge, a huge part in helping, like I said, again, to connect us and to keep us, I guess it kind of takes us away from the things that are going on outside.
It does. And, I've heard people say, well, it's nothing like being together. And of course not. There's nothing like being together. But it's also pretty cool, the fact that even though I personally have not seen my mom for over a year, I can't wait for my second dose of the vaccine so I can see her. Or actually, physically, hug her and stuff like that. Yes. But truly that I could see you, and I could still see your face, and I could still see your reactions and things like that,
That's
That is
right.
still huge. I
That's
mean, can
right.
you imagine if we didn't have this technology during the pandemic and it was still old school and we're over a phone?
Right.
That'd be even harder. So at least I could see you, I could walk around, I could show you the house, I could show you the new
That's
baby, I
right.
could walk around and show you,
That's right.
you know, the couple getting married, and I could take you outside. We could go to walks together and see each other. There's still that piece
Yeah.
is so valuable that,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think, you know, my son will never know what it was like not to have this technology,
Right.
you
Right.
know, and
Right.
that alone is pretty wild, you know.
Yeah.
So I think even as hard as it was, where I can't touch, hug, and all that stuff, at least I can see and I can react. If you say something funny, Kim, you could actually see me laugh and
That's
things like
right.
that. So
That's right. But just like you said, and then also the beauty is you can record it. So
yeah.
you have these things. I have my grandmother passed away in January. She was
Mm.
105 years old.
Ooh, what a blessing.
A
What a
blessing.
blessing.
I have video of her
Yeah.
singing Happy New Year when
Yes.
she passed a couple of days before she passed
Yeah.
in January. I would have not had that opportunity.
Yeah.
She met her great great granddaughter,
That
my
is huge.
grandbaby.
That is
And
huge.
those things are definitely huge
Yeah.
because like I said, we have opportunities to make memories. We can record
Yeah.
these things and we can go back and see those things. And I think that it's brought us a little closer also because you know you may only be able to, you may not have the finances to go
It
and see
allowed
someone.
you
Right,
to appreciate that time
right,
and not take it for granted. So the next time we are in an area at a time where we could literally be in each other's space,
right.
we are so going to appreciate that. I think
That's
even
right.
more.
Even
You
more.
know, again, I go back to 2020 was hard on so many different levels. And for some people, it was harder than others. But I hope people can take from that just being a little bit more appreciative of just not only just things and stuff or whatever, but just people.
Right,
You know, just
right.
be really appreciative of people. And I know for me, it's interesting, Kim. I was just having this conversation with some coworkers. I cannot stand when people talk about how busy they are
Right.
because I just think everybody's busy. But when I hear that whole battle cry, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. 2020 took for me, you can't, you
Right.
got to stop with that
Right.
because I feel like, first of all, if you being busy is a good thing, that means you're alive. You
Right.
know, you're supposed to be busy when you're alive. You're supposed to, you know, as soon as you get up and lay your feet down, that's good. God wants you to be
That's
busy,
it.
but you also need to take time for people and take time for yourself and self-care. For me, 2020 was really about self-care
Yeah,
because I've spent so much time, you know, like you said, I mean, you know it, you're a mother,
absolutely.
you know, a wife. We do so much stuff,
Right.
other stuff. 2020 had me kind of look back and be like, okay, what about me?
Right.
And not in a bad way, but I think that was one of the biggest things I took out of that too.
That's it. 'Cause it's all about being present.
Yeah,
That's why the show is called How Now and it's talking
yeah,
about living in the now. What are we doing right
yeah.
now in this space?
And you can be present on Zoom. And
Yes,
that's what we talked about when you talk about your grandmother, 105,
that's right.
that is still a present moment. It's
That's right.
okay if you both weren't in the same room.
That's right.
You're still present in
That's
that
right.
moment.
That's
Yeah.
right. And that's what I absolutely love. And you speak the truth when you talk about self-care and you talk about taking time for yourself and you talk about doing things. And Zoom has also opened the door for that. Just like you said, yoga teachers, people are
Yes.
going and exercising and being able to have access to people who they may not have had access to locally.
Look,
It
let's
just
just put it
changed the
out there.
game.
Therapy, mental health, the fact that you can still talk to a therapist on Zoom, you can still have that same connection. The fact that you just talk,
Telemedicine.
the fact that you just talk to your friends,
Right.
just you know, I've had it. You know, I talk about kind of, you know, I have like my tribes of people that I need to go to. It's okay if, you know, my girl Carrie's in Denver. When I say, "Do you have a minute?" She gives me a minute on Zoom, and it's just like we're together.
There
You
you go.
know.
I love that. I love that when they had the little verses with the Isley
Oh,
Brothers
love that.
and the Isley
Wind and
Brothers.
Fire. Yeah.
Yes, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
Honey, I have girlfriends that we've been friends since we were 16 years old.
Yeah.
And we call each other, we were like, this is a Zoom moment, right? Because we're gonna have to sing every song, right? So we hopped on there. We've had dinners together. We've been in each other's kitchen cooking, and then sitting down and having a glass of wine and
Yeah,
enjoying
my
our
brother, you
house.
know,
It's been
my brother
wonderful.
is a DJ back home.
Nice.
And, you know, right off the bat, I thought about, oh, what is this going to do to his business? Didn't slow him down. He got a Zoom license. He was still doing virtual weddings. birthdays. He would connect the family. He would have like these shows, kind of like similar to like, D Nice.
Right.
And he would just play music for 2 hours. We put in requests. We'd all be sitting around laughing. So it
Yes.
still brought us together,
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
was
And just like you said, some of these things would not have been possible. Think about people who are suffering. Finances. People have lost jobs. People's jobs have phased out departments as a result of this pandemic. And now, where, I may not have the finances for my husband and myself and my daughter, my granddaughter to fly to New York to go and see our family. We can hop on Zoom and see each other. When Easter came, we were able to go on, and my mother was able to make Easter eggs with my granddaughter, and they were able to do, and they could see each other's eggs, and it's just like, wow, Nana, look, and it was amazing to be able to do that. So we're able to see each other a little more than we would have, where I may have only been able to go home one time a year, twice a year.
That is true.
I can see them every week.
Yeah, you have hit on something. I mean, I think for me, I've always talked to my mom every day, but to actually incorporate now, like my aunts and uncles and my cousins, who maybe you saw traditionally on the holidays or maybe during the summer.
That's right.
Now it's like, once a month or twice a month is like family time.
That's it. That's it. We have a Friday every week where we get on we have a Friday meeting where it's my auntie, my mom, my dad, my cousins, all that. We get on there and we have a little toast for the weekend, and we wish each other well. But those things wouldn't have been possible, or we would not have maximized Zoom in the way that we could had the earth not stopped. So things happen for a reason.
So it's like, yes, we had to shut down, but we didn't have to shut off. And I think that was the key with Zoom. We shut down, but we did not have to shut off. So
we shut down. I'm writing it down. Not shut off, honey. Yes. Not shut off. Exactly. And we could have.
Yes.
It could have put us in a space where we just folded up into ourselves, and because we were sheltered in place, just became stagnant. It was like a window. It was a window to the world.
Right. And like I said, this was all organic, because companies have been using us, but then those companies are also people. When they're not working, they're still on Zoom talking to family and this and the other. And then, your yoga instructor now is trying to figure out what to do. And then you're like, hey, have you thought of Zoom? Or, somebody has come to me and say, hey, we have to have, I got to have a meeting at church. So how do I connect? Oh, try Zoom. So it wasn't like, we were putting ads out there. It wasn't like we were trying to, hey, folks, use us. It was so organic and beautiful how it happened. And it was just kind of like, okay, here we go.
Right.
So March 2020. All right, here it is.
Right.
We're on.
Right. and y'all have been on and going strong. And then, I also have to, address those who don't have technology.
Yes.
Because I feel that like this has also pushed our government officials and people to start thinking about, okay, this is the way we connect. How are we connecting those who don't have access to internet to be able to,
and that's something that we are very thoughtful on, and something we, with what we do as far as like Zoomy Cares is something that we care about, and something that we want to and have been a part of, because not every I think people take for granted as far as like the internet. A lot of times people don't realize you have to pay for it. So if you're in a community that not only can't afford groceries and you got to pick and choose, that's why we have so many kids, unfortunately, who have kind of disappeared. And I hear people say, well, why can't they just go on Zoom? They don't have laptops. Again, it's food for my family or a laptop and the internet. You got to pick and choose.
That's right.
So, let's go into those places and let's help them so they don't have to choose. And I think just that piece has been cool to see how churches become hot spots.
Yes.
Certain businesses have become hot spots. And the fact that, we can give some of these people, it's uncovered a lot, and especially on the education piece that people don't realize, not everybody is going to have access to a laptop or a tablet. I look at my son's school, thankfully, he could use like my home computer, if you will, to be on school. But some people were kind of like, Well, if they got a laptop at work, guess
Right.
what? Their kids also had to be on the laptop. They had to
Right.
share it. So
Right.
it really kind of revealed as far as those who did have it and those who didn't, but then how can we help those who don't?
That's
So
right. That's
yeah,
right. And like I said, I thought it was important to bring that up because it is, and it is a reality,
yes.
and it's going to force us to say, okay, how are we going about helping these people? And just like you said,
Yeah.
the
And those
churches are
communities
the
are entitled
hotspots.
to the internet, and those
Absolutely.
communities are entitled to the internet.
Absolutely.
I don't think it should be, those who can afford it should get it.
Right.
What can we do to help them? So like I said, so to see that churches and businesses and we can use this technology to create those hot spots to make
Right.
sure those folks can get on,
That's right.
it is huge. And I think that's the biggest part that I think all of us in technology should be responsible for.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's
yeah.
right. So, I mean, I know that we've talked about, businesses expanding and using it. We've talked about our families and what have you starting to use it. And now we're seeing people also who are starting businesses
Oh yeah.
using Zoom, to help them to get things started there.
Yeah,
And that's a different piece.
so I had mentioned, we just recently introduced all of our ERGs, employee resource groups. I'm honored to be the global lead for Zoom Soul. This is our Black ERG here at Zoom. And during Black History Month, all of February, our theme was changing the game. And,
Yes.
we had 1 week, which was innovation. And it was so interesting as all of our guests had admitted to where, hey, when, we had to shut down, we had to keep going.
Right.
So we got to talk to this team that were starting a Black streaming service, and they were handling all their business on Zoom. And they said that's what helped them keep going.
Right.
They didn't, they had, kind of like, gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but all these investors, excuse me,
Right.
had invested all this money. So they can't be like, oh, we're in a pandemic, so we can't keep going. They had to keep going. So
Right.
they had to have countless meetings on Zoom. And just to hear that, as far as like we could still help them with their dream and what they're trying to do and things like that, which is pretty cool. Because again, just like you said, yeah, we may have shut down, but stuff still need to go on in the world. People still
Right.
need to work, and
Right.
you had to find a different way. So the fact that folks, we could help with that to keep the business going was huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I love also that you said that you were able to highlight, you
Yes.
know, families. And I love this. It gave people a voice.
Yes.
It gave people a platform, just like this show,
Yeah.
to be able to have a voice to talk about things and to talk about, diversity and things like that. We've just seen so much,
Yeah.
over
I
the
will
history.
say that's one thing I'm definitely beyond proud of, to see not only the young people what they're doing, which is so creative with this technology, but
Yes.
then just to see people of color take it to another level
Yeah.
as well. Because I think a lot of times our voice is not heard. So they're kind of like, okay, fine. If you won't hire me, I'll create my own.
There you go.
Like just what you're doing with this podcast. Okay, fine. Maybe NBC won't give you a show, Kim, but that doesn't stop you from creating your own show.
That's right. That's
I
right.
did a sports podcast for years just because I couldn't. I maybe didn't fit the look they wanted
Right.
to highlight a football or basketball
Right.
game. Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll just create my own.
There you
And
go.
and that's what I love too. That people are
Yes.
like not letting that closed door hinder them for
That's right.
creating their own and opening their own door.
That's right. Just like you said, not shut down, but and not shut out. But like I said, there's a window. To
Yes.
me, if you're in this room and there's nothing, Zoom provided a window for you to be able to climb through and say, okay, there are no glass ceilings here. There
Yep.
are no closed doors here. There's just opportunities for us to showcase, the
Yeah.
talent and the gifts that so many people have.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's wonderful, and that I had an opportunity to see the Black during the Black History Month,
Yeah.
the things that you all were promoting, and that's wonderful, because it shows
Yeah.
that you're using the technology to give people a voice as well.
Yeah,
And
and it's
so
something
that's
I'm really
huge.
proud of too, because I think it's so easy to kind of go after people who are like uber famous. Everybody wants to, and it's nothing to somebody who's famous, but there's so many people who are just as famous that maybe you've never heard of.
That's
And
right.
I think that was key. And then we broke down our weeks. We had like innovation, we had finance, we had education, and then we had the arts.
Yeah.
We had these brothers who were chefs in the UK.
Yes.
during the pandemic, they can't fly here to the States
Right.
and do a show. But guess
Right.
what? We Zoomed, they're able to cook for us. We could have a conversation.
That's it.
So, we didn't let the pandemic hinder what we could bring to the company, to the masses. And that piece was just so cool. Plus, it was educational. With everything that we did, we're also our goal was to inspire and educate. And I think that's the key too.
There you
That's the
go.
key too. So like with finances, we're having conversations about generational wealth, and things like that. So I think I was really proud of what we did over Black History Month. So
I mean, and it's wonderful, and it's something that's going to continue to grow.
yeah,
And since talking about all of that, now we want to talk about looking into the future. This pandemic. We thought, okay, we're gonna go through it. Then it was like, wait a minute, we're not finished with it. We're still here. We're just like, what? So you start to think, okay, so what is the future going to look like?
yeah,
What are we looking at moving forward?
yeah. Well, I think one of the things, I hear people say, oh, well, when offices when offices, excuse me, open up, we won't need you all anymore. And I'm like, I disagree, because when offices were open, we were still around.
Yeah.
Again, that we didn't just start like a few months ago. So people will still use us, but in different ways. And then also, when offices do open, the workplace is going to look very different.
Yes, it is.
But I truly believe gone are the days we'll be working Monday through Friday.
Right.
So it's going to be kind of a hybrid environment. And then what does that environment look like? Do I have my own desk? Am I in a conference room? Am I sharing a desk?
Right.
So, we don't know. We know some offices is open, but then on the flip side, Kim, we also know some companies have already put out there, oh, we're going to be 100% virtual. We're not going back.
There you go.
So you have those companies who are like,
benefits.
guess what we learned? You don't necessarily have to be in the office. So
Cost effectiveness. They're going to start
Yeah.
looking at how this streamlines the process.
Right.
That you're
Right.
able to get that, and and for a person who had an opportunity to work from home, I loved being able to do that, because as a multitasker, I'm like, yes, I can still get my work done, but I can go ahead and throw that laundry in, or I can go ahead and wash those dishes real quick and do something.
And let's just talk the truth. You work harder at home.
Yes.
Even before Zoom, I worked for a company for 6 years at home, because you get up, sometimes you may or may not get dressed, you turn on your laptop, and then you just it's harder sometimes to end it, because even though traditionally, let's say the day ends around 5 or 6,
That's right.
you're still doing stuff. And I know for me, once I, put my son to bed, I've come back onto my laptop for another couple hours just to finish some stuff, because I don't have that commute.
Right.
Like I said, I'm in Atlanta. Traffic is not the greatest. Let's just put it out there. So, not having that 45-minute commute, has been nice. But then on the flip side, sometimes I miss that 45-minute commute, because that was kind of my woosah moment.
There you go.
Where I can kind of like get my mind right.
Right.
So,
it's wonderful, because just like you said, you start to find ways to incorporate that self-care, incorporate those things that you need to do for work, and you start to differentiate. I come in, I do my work, but then I have a set time. I have a Zoom, I have a meditation that I do every Monday. And so I know, okay, it's time to shut this down. And now I'm on here, and now I can use this same technology to help me in self-care. I'm able to do this. I'm able to do my meditation. I'm able to connect with people from all over the world while we're doing that. And then I can come back in. And so there are just so many ways that Zoom is being useful. Just like you said, from a spiritual aspect, from a business aspect, from entrepreneurial aspect. There are just so many things. You guys are definitely here to stay, because there's just so much more that we can continue to learn, and that we can continue to offer to so many more people. I think about a guest of mine who was on the show, who does she's a personal trainer. And now she does her, she used to do them locally. I used to go to her classes and what have you. Now she's doing these Zooms, and she's got people coming from all over.
Because you can reach more people, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the part too, where we kind of took that brick and mortar aspect and threw it out the window. Because whereas before you maybe had 4 people come to you, now you can reach 50 people.
Right.
And that to me is just huge, as far as taking things to another level. And I think that's what innovation is about. And that's what we're about. How do we take things to another level, not only to help our business clients, but then now our everyday clients, that
That's right.
personal trainer, the yoga instructor, how can we help schools and take them to
That's
another
right.
level?
That's
So
right.
that piece, that's where it's like, even, let's say we get back to, I don't think we'll ever get back to normal. I don't
Right.
even know if we remember what that is,
Yeah, there's no
which is
such.
okay. But now that new normal, we can help define that. And that's what's so beautiful. And that's one of the things that I love about being in Zoom.
Yes, yes. Like I said, this has just been a wonderful conversation. It's been wonderful
Yeah.
to talk about the innovation. It's been wonderful to talk about how we're moving in this now and how we're moving in this space, and that we're making the adaptations that we need to make. Because when you think
Yes.
about anything that happens, we go through those stages. We go through the stages of fear and of the unknown. Then we get to a space of educating ourselves, and then hopefully we get to a space of growth where we can reach back and help those who are struggling.
And
So,
that's the biggest key. And that's where it comes to, again, us caring for others. We always have to help other people and reach out. And that's something I'm really proud that we do every day.
yes, every
Yeah.
day. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you do to live in the now. This is something that we talk about on our show
Yeah.
every week. What
Yeah.
are you doing now to live in the
Well, you talked about your personal trainer. So I was very fortunate to get a personal trainer who happens to live right across the street from me.
now?
So, I had known her for a while. We shut down, and, that the feelings of stress and anxiety and being overwhelmed, I knew, okay, I got to take care of me.
Yes.
So I started working out with her at her home, wearing my mask, being very socially distant. But man, that helped me out. Just that working out again, because I was, guilty like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I gained that COVID weight.
130
I
pounds.
definitely was
Thank you.
eating my way through the pandemic. Okay. And then, you sit down, even if I have a standing desk, I still wasn't really like
Oh,
doing
yeah.
anything. So I was
Yes.
like, okay, I got to do something. Or when we do go back to work, all I'm going to wear is sheets and comforters.
Right.
So, so working out has been good. Reading again has been good. I used to always be a big reader,
Yes.
but to truly just like read and everything from, whether it's an autobiography or fiction or whatever, the being able to escape has been nice.
Yes.
Learning breathing techniques where I just have a minute where I take my deep breaths.
That's right.
And, I was never one for yoga. That I have a lot of friends who are yogis, if you will.
Right.
But just learning to breathe and take a minute. Finding that right therapist who can talk to you on Zoom has been good. Having that
Right.
outlet, excuse me.
Yeah.
I think that's key. And then as stuff started opening up, kind of, treating myself to that mani pedi,
Yeah.
just because, granted, yeah, I'm not going to the office or anything like that, but it's just a minute where I can just sit back and somebody can take care of me for a
That's
minute,
right. There you go.
and when you're a working mom and you're constantly, I'm doing drop off, I'm doing pickup, and then when he comes home, even though I'm still working, like he just did a few minutes ago, I'm hungry. So, it's snacks,
Right.
it's
Right.
dinners, and like you said, somebody still got to do the laundry and clean the house or whatever. So those moments where I can have just kind of some me time,
Right.
I think is so critical. And not even just for working moms. I just think when you're constantly on the go, you have to figure out time to just kind of sit still.
Yeah.
And maybe it's watching just a TV show and it's just you just not doing anything.
5 minutes.
But I have definitely have appreciated that more. And then, I lost my dad to leukemia in 2018, the same time where I started with Zoom.
Yeah.
And that for me put stuff in perspective too, just even more like with family. So, my mom, she lives in a different state. And we've always talked, but just really being in the now and in the present when I'm talking to her and making sure that she's good. Because, it's one thing when you have two parents, when you lose one,
Right.
you are truly focused because, I want to make sure she's in a good
Right.
place and she's healthy. And, so when I do go and visit her, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So whatever I can do to stay healthy too, just for my son. So
Yeah.
that's really important to me.
Yes. And see, and that's such a beautiful way to live in the now. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing. We're just learning to take care of
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've been saying a lot lately is that we have to be in a space where our cup is not empty, but our cup is in a space of overflow. Because for
Yeah.
me, once you have that overflow, you can pour some into someone else, but you still have some left for yourself.
Yes.
Then you
Yes.
can both cheers. You can, you can, you can celebrate your successes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that
And
that's
I
so
also
important.
love, I love a good word. So I'm big on, thankfully too, I love all these different ministers have put
Yes.
their stuff out, you know, whether it's Zoom or YouTube or whatever, because I can listen to that where I'm
Yes.
driving my son to work or as I'm working, I can listen to it. But just having that technology, that space where I can listen to a lot of different people
Yes.
instead of one person has
Yes.
been great too. So because
Yes.
I've always loved that. So my faith has also kept me going too, even on those hard times. But the fact
Absolutely.
that I could still just pull somebody up on, you know, on the internet and listen to
That's
them for a
it.
few minutes has been really nice too.
I'm telling you, it has just opened up a whole new world. And
Yeah.
for those of us who see the benefit and see the abundance that comes as a result of everything stopping for a minute,
Oh yeah.
it definitely is about perspective, and it's definitely about saying, okay, what am I going to do at this time? What am I going to do
Right.
at this space? How am I going to
Right.
maximize it so
And
that
and
way,
honestly, Kim, I
quality
think
of life.
right. And honestly, Kim, I think that's a way too, you know, we have to honor all the lives that have been lost due to COVID.
Yes.
I think if we just kind of sit back and do nothing, I think that insults them. That's we gotta live and we gotta move on.
That's
You know,
it.
because too many innocent people. You know, when this hit, and I think a lot of times we just see it as numbers, but those are people. You know, like I
Yeah.
said, I lost 4 people in my family
Wow.
due to COVID. You know, so how what do I look like just sitting around going, oh, woe is me, I'm in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
I need to live and I need to do what
Right.
I can to help carry on, you know, what they gave to me as far as my
That's it.
family.
I always
So
tell people,
that's
you
what you have to
celebrate their
do.
life and you celebrate their
Yes,
legacy, and then you celebrate the things that, what are the things you celebrate, the memories, but what did they teach you? What were some of life
right,
lessons that they taught you that you can carry on and that
right.
you can give to those who are coming behind you?
Yeah, yeah.
We're
Because the one thing we
building.
learned is COVID-19 did not discriminate.
No.
So, and it
No.
definitely hit, you know, our community the hardest.
Yes.
So, you know, that was a wake up call for a lot of relatives who maybe hadn't been taking care of themselves or going to the doctor. We were definitely getting on them
That's it.
because, you know, we want to, I want to be around for a long time. And I want
That's
my
it.
family and
That's
friends to be around a long
just like
time
you said,
too.
live, love, laugh. We can't
Yes.
stay here if we're stressing
Yeah.
and we're placing ourselves in a space of immobility. If we don't do those things, if we don't open up and continue to grow, then we're going to be in a space of risking our own lives.
Right.
Like
Right.
you
That's
said,
why when I hear people say, when I reach out to a friend, I hadn't talked to them in a while, they're like, "Oh, girl, I've been busy." I don't want to hear that because you can make time for stuff that's important to you. I
absolutely,
think so. No more
absolutely.
excuses where you busy. The world is busy. Everybody's busy, but you got to make that time for people who you want to make time for, or make that time for yourself or whatever. But that whole, oh, I was just busy. That's a cop out. That's
There
a
you
cop out.
go. Well, now you see, I was going to ask you what your parting words could be, but honey, that right there,
Well, I
that
would
right
say,
there.
truly, my parting words is something my mom has said to me for years. This too shall pass.
That's right.
So no matter how hard it is, or if you think you're in the middle of something and you can't get out, or you know, you kind of feel like I'm stuck, just remember this too shall pass. So when I look back at stuff that I had been in the middle of and thought like I would never get out of it, now I look back and I'll be like, oof, oh my goodness, like I
Right,
did that.
right.
So I would just say for anybody who's going through something, just remember this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Okay, no greater words, honey, than the word. This too shall pass. Well, I
Yes.
want to thank you so much, Nicole, for being here and for helping us to talk and to learn about innovations and
Yeah.
communications, and for all that you are doing in helping to inspire and in helping to connect others to the world through so
Well, thank
many different
you.
ways. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, and seriously, thank you just for asking. You know, I truly appreciate that. So it's been a pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation, and I wish you all the success with your podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with that, we will thank you all for being with us for this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until I see you all the next time, I say peace.